So welcome. So this is a gentle and restorative class. So lots of gentle movement and some restorative postures. But if you feel like, energies are not there today, then, I'll give you lots of modifications. But if you need to sit anything out, do something different, then please do. So we're starting seated. If you find it useful to sit on something because that will elevate the pelvis, I'm sitting on like a brick. You could sit on a book if you don't have a yoga brick, or even a folded blanket or a cushion. And then have that little rock backwards and forwards, side to side. And see if you can find that central point where the spine can kind of just settle. Maybe the shoulders are somewhere over the hips. And if you find it useful, you could even just roll through the shoulders a few times. Just having that little opening and getting a sense of where the shoulders are in terms of, in relation to the hips, so that they can just settle. And then you can allow the hands to be on the legs. Maybe the palms are facing up, or maybe they're facing down. So then as you settle here, take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, maybe a little sigh out through the mouth. Deep breath in. Feel that the crown of the head is lifting up, creating those little spaces between the spine, between each vertebrae. And as you exhale, you're softening down through the shoulders and allow yourself to sit down into your base a little bit deeper. You might do that one more time, inhaling, breathing long. And exhale, having that sense of releasing into your body and into this space. And then as you settle, just become aware of the natural rhythm of breath. So that breath where you don't have to do anything, just the natural breath just coming and going. And so we're continuing with our theme of mindfulness. So the past couple of weeks, we've been working with different techniques. So first week was all about the mindfulness of breathing, which we bring into all of our classes anyway, but there was just a focus on that. Last week was about the body scan and being fully present within our body. And again, that's something that we always use in our yoga practice. So I always kind of see these two as tools, if you like, or techniques that you can have when you come to your mat and maybe you find the mind being very busy, taking you away. This can just bring you back into the present moment. So remembering that that's the idea, that we just keep coming back to the present moment. And we're doing this with a kind of a feeling of non-judgmental, so a feeling of compassion for ourselves. So you might find you settle in here and that the mind is so busy and you just keep wandering away. And actually, that's okay, because the goal, if you like, of mindfulness is about watching the mind, watching the thoughts. And after a while, you might feel that you get to a sense where the thoughts come and the thoughts go. So remembering we are human, to have no thoughts is almost impossible. But maybe we, through our practice, create spaces between thoughts. And it's in those spaces that we feel a sense of presence. We can delve a little bit deeper into our inner world and understand ourselves a little bit more as well. And maybe create that calm and that peace that so often we're looking for in life. Or maybe even answers for some of the questions that we have from within. So today we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that, and maybe it's more about the spaces that we're considering for this class. So the quote that I've pulled out for this class is by Viktor Frankl, and he says, "Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." So basically, life will throw all different things at us. And that's the stimulus. And the way that we respond can sometimes be habitual. We can respond with frustration, anger, all sorts of other emotions, or we can respond with a calmness and a compassion. And when we practice mindfulness in this way, we start to see that we do actually have a choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. But what you find through your mindfulness practice, it's those spaces that you're creating, that when you come off your mat, you can then bring it into everyday life. So, yeah, just exploring this a little bit more today. So for now, just sense yourself sitting here. Sense the feet resting on the ground. Sense the legs and the pelvis. Sense the lower part of the spine, somewhere down towards the tailbone. And the next time that you breathe in, can you run your awareness along the length of the spine? Coming to the back of the neck. You might do that a few times. As you exhale, the awareness sinking back down into the tailbone, and then inhaling up to the back of the neck. Feel that there's a little wave across the spine with your breath. And then the next time that you breathe in and come up to the back of the neck, continue on and become aware of the crown of the head. Drop your awareness down across the face, feeling the temples and the space between the eyebrows, the cheeks, chin, the jaw. And then moving down into the chest, the heart space, and the belly. Having that scan through the body, seeing what is there for you. Remembering to, if you can, try to welcome it in. So if there's physical tightness or pain in the body, just let it be as it is. If there are any emotions that you would rather not be with, see if you can, just allow them to be there. And in a way, you're watching this from a witness point. You are not those sensations, and you are not those thoughts. You are not those emotions. So just watching whatever comes, let it come. And then just let it go. Often people visualize this as clouds. You might have a thought within a cloud, it comes, and then it goes again. So we don't get involved in the thought or the emotion or the sensation. We just see it and then let it go. And then take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, sighing out through. Blinking the eyes open. We're going to release over into tabletop and then down into our child's pose. So have the knees hip distance rather than wider than the hips, because they're going to start to move as well. We're not going to stay in child's pose for too long. We're going to reach forward through the fingertips, so you begin to stretch through the arms. And you could release the forehead towards the mat if that feels comfortable, but obviously keep it slightly lifted if you've got any issues into the back of the neck or even into the shoulders. You might find that actually this is quite a stretch for the shoulders. If you can, keep the elbows off the mat. So it's like maybe on the inhale, you're just reaching forward through the fingers slightly. And as you exhale, softening down. Another breath there as you inhale, reaching forward. And exhaling, softening. And then on your next inhale, come up into your tabletop. So as you do that, press into the hands and round through the spine into your cat pose. So that's your inhale. So normally we would do cat and cow the other way, but we're going to change it around and feel that we can breathe into the back of the body as we inhale and come up from our child's pose. So take another breath there. Inhale, press into the hands, broaden across the shoulders. And then as you exhale, sit back to your child's pose. So the hands don't really move very much. You're just inhaling to come up onto the hands, press strong arms, broaden across the shoulders. You might draw the tailbone down and away, so you're lengthening through the back of the body, and as you exhale, sit back to your child's pose. Inhaling to reach up, chin towards chest, perhaps, if that feels okay for the back of the neck. And exhaling, sit back to your child's pose. Do one more in that way, inhaling to come up. And then exhaling, sitting back to your child's pose. Reach forward with the left hand so that the elbow is raised. And we're going to bring the right hand underneath the left. And see, is it possible to reach as far forward as you can and release the right shoulder and maybe side of the head onto the mat. If the earth feels like it's miles away, you could grab a cushion for your head. So it's a little bit of a twist and a squeeze into that left shoulder. So you could either stay reaching through the left hand, you could drop the elbow onto the mat, or you could even bring that left hand behind the body, onto the lower back or onto that right hip if it comfortably goes there and it's okay for the shoulder. So breathing there, few breaths, allowing that kind of squeeze into the shoulder to happen. And whenever you kind of come down into these pausing postures, so where we just pause maybe for a few breaths or maybe several minutes, just finding that place to focus. So maybe for the breath, you could just become aware of the tip of the nostrils. And when you notice the mind wanders away, notice what thoughts come in and very gently bring it back to the awareness of the breath at the nostrils. And then on your next inhale, press into the left hand to come back up. So you're coming back to your tabletop, and this time we'll do a normal kind of cat-cow. So as you inhale this time, allow the belly to drop down towards the earth, gaze upwards and bring the tailbone up. So a little bit of a back bend, make sure that's okay. And then as you exhale, tuck under through the spine, press through the hands, chin to chest. Do that a couple more times, inhaling to gaze forward and exhale, but remembering soft and slow with these movements. Sitting back towards your child's pose, reach forward with the right hand, and then bring that left hand underneath and moving it as far over as is comfortable, and bring the left shoulder and the left side of the head down. So again, that kind of squeeze into the upper arm and the shoulder and reaching forward with the right hand, or dropping the elbow, or bringing the hand over the back. It might just depend how the shoulders are, how you're feeling in the back of the body. Have a sense of just settling in. And then finding that focus for the breath. And then on your next inhale, push into that right hand to come back to your tabletop. Move any props. Few rounds of cat-cow. Inhale to gaze up and exhale to round. Taking your time, inhale and exhale. Move with the breath. So try to make that connection, movement with breath, breath with movement. And then when you complete that breath, sit back towards child's pose once more. And then we're going to reach forward through the fingertips and then come all the way up onto the knees. So you're reaching forward all the way up. You can reach the hands up to the top. And then as you exhale, release the hands behind. So you can interlace the fingers. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades together. And you might just connect in through the belly a little, draw lower ribs in. Take an inhale. And exhale. Inhale to reach the hands back up to the top. And then as you exhale, sinking back towards your child's pose. So sit back to the heels and bring the hands back down. Forehead can come down. So we're going to flow through that a few times and add some side stretches. So as you inhale, reach forward through the fingertips, come all the way up onto the knees. And exhale, release the hands behind. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades together. As you exhale, draw the belly in, connecting down through lower ribs. Inhale to bring the hands back up to the top. Interlace the fingers, release the index finger. And as you exhale, folding towards the left side. And then you inhale to come back up to the top. And as you exhale, folding over to the right side. Inhale to come back up, releasing the hands, and then exhale to sit back to your child's pose. So we'll start to put more of that together now. So as you inhale, come up to your tabletop, press through the hands and into your cat pose. And then as you exhale, sit back to child's pose. Inhale to come up onto your knees. And as you exhale, release the hands behind. You might have the other little finger on the outside just to change the stretch a little. Inhale, draw shoulder blades together. And as you exhale, soften, draw belly in, release the shoulders. Inhale to reach the hands back up. And as you exhale, folding all the way back down. And we'll do one more of those with the side stretch. So you're inhaling to come to your tabletop. Exhale, press into the hands, really round through the back into your cat. And then exhale, sit back to your child's pose. Inhale to come all the way up onto the knees. And as you exhale, release the hands behind. Inhale, open the chest, the upper chest, but then exhale, draw the belly in. Inhale, reach the hands up. Interlace, release the index, and as you exhale, folding over to the left. Inhale, back up to the top. And as you exhale, over to the other side. Inhale to reach, release the hands, and then as you exhale, fold all the way back through. Pausing there for a breath or two. If you want to release the wrists, you can come onto the elbows and just give the wrists a few circles. And then we're going to inhale to come to our tabletop. And then tuck the toes, lengthening out the legs, come into your down dog. So it can be a soft down dog, or you can begin to walk out through the legs, so you're bending one knee. And then exhaling, drawing heels towards the mat. easing out the legs. And if down dog doesn't work for you, you could stay in your tabletop and lengthen one leg, have the toe on the mat and press back through the heel. So you don't have to do down dog. And then you might lengthen the other leg, press through the heel. Feel that there are options depending on how the body is and how the energy levels are as well. We're really checking in with that. And then from your down dog, we're going to come forward into a forward fold. So if you're still on the knees, you could come to stand and then come into a forward fold. So you're just allowing the feet to be hip distance, release the arms. You could take opposite elbows, rock side to side. If that feels too deep for the back of the body, bring the elbows onto the knees. Wherever you go, release the head. So let the head be heavy, give it a shake. And nice deep breaths there. Just become aware of the length of your breath. So when you breathe in, can you count the breath in and just see what kind of length the breath is? And then when you exhale, what kind of length is the exhale? And then we're going to see if we can control the breath a little. So as you inhale, you might inhale to a count of 3 or 4. And as you exhale, can you make that the same count, whatever it is, just balancing out the breath. Don't worry what the breath is too much. Might be more than 4, might be less than 3. What I find helpful is if I connect into the ocean breath or the ujjayi breath at the throat. So that slight closing off of the throat. And also the banda breath, so drawing the belly in as you exhale. Seeing what helps you to begin to be more aware of the breath, more aware of the depth of the breath. And we can see if we can then gradually begin to lengthen the exhale. Maybe the exhale will just start to get a little bit longer than the inhale, almost naturally. You might find that naturally happening. Maybe 1, maybe 2 counts longer. And then releasing the hands towards the earth, gazing forward. Take an inhale to sweep the hands up, bend into the knees a little as you come all the way up to stand. And then as you exhale, bring the hands into prayer at the heart center. So take a deep breath in, feel that reaching up through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, soften down into the feet, releasing shoulders, belly drawing in. Do that again, inhaling long. And exhaling. And then we'll flow back down. So you're inhaling, reaching the hands up to the top. And as you exhale, fold all the way through. Release the hands, release the head. Take an inhale, come onto the shins. So bring the hands onto the shins, gaze forward. And then as you exhale, we're going to plant the hands down, step back with the left leg. Bringing that left knee down. So if you find you need to pad out the knee, you can fold the side of your mat or bring a folded blanket or a pillow underneath, but make sure at the front that the right knee is over the ankle. Bring the hands onto the knee so that you can just inhale, have a little bit of lift, lifting up, and then exhale, drawing in, lengthening the body, but squeezing in through that thigh. So we're going to stay here for about 5 breaths. If you do want to incorporate the arms and bring them up to the top, you can do that as well. Just keep the shoulders soft, belly drawing in, and obviously no issues. So if you need to bring the hands back down onto the knees, then you do that. So pausing here for those breaths. So count the breath in, counting the breath out, and on each exhale, just try to create a softness in the body. Inhaling. and exhale. So remembering that ocean breath at the throat, belly drawing in as you exhale. One more like that. Inhale and exhale. And then releasing the hands either side of the foot. You can step back to your tabletop or your down dog, or even into your child's pose. Choosing what would be good for your body. And then we'll all come back to down dog or to your tabletop, whichever works best for you. And we'll come back to the forward fold. So if you're in your down dog, you're walking the feet forward. If you're in your tabletop, come back to stand, releasing the head. Remember to soften this. You can bend into the knees and bring the elbows onto the knees. So don't think that you have to create a deep stretch in the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, backs of the knees. You can really soften in here. Just to make sure that the head is releasing. That's probably the most important bit. The head is heavy. Not creating any tension in the back of the body. And then we'll release the hands, gaze forward, press into the feet, bend into the knees a little as you inhale to come all the way back up to stand. And exhale, bringing the hands into prayer at the heart center. Take a couple of breaths here, inhaling long, exhaling, drawing the belly in. Inhale and exhale. We'll flow back down and do the other side. So you're inhaling, reaching the hands up, and exhaling, folding all the way through. Release the hands, release the head. Bring the hands onto the shins. Inhale to gaze forward. And then you're stepping back with that right leg. Bring the right knee down, left knee over ankle at the front. Hands coming onto the knee, lift up a little. So you're not just kind of sitting down into the joints. You've actually got control through the leg. You're squeezing in through the hip and the thigh. Soften shoulders. And if you do want to bring the hands up, incorporate them. But just notice what happens with the chest, with the lower ribs. And if you need to bring them back down and stay here for your breath, then do. So you're inhaling, counting the breath in. And counting the breath out. Just seeing where the breath takes you. Noticing any thoughts that come in. Let them go. Come back to that presence within the body and the breath. One more deep breath in. Exhaling, and then releasing the hands down. Stepping back either to your down dog, your child's pose, or just simply tabletop. You might have a wiggle side to side if you're in your child's pose, or even in your down dog. You might walk out through the legs. And you might even release the hands beside the body if you're in your child's pose. Just letting that be soft and feeling all that might be shifting in the body, all of the sensations, all the subtle energies. Awareness of all of that. Love. So then we're going to come down onto our knees. We're going to set up for our first kind of pausing restorative posture. So if you have a bolster, you can do it with that as well. If you don't, I'm going to show you with pillows and blankets. So we're going to stack 2 pillows, maybe a couple of folded cushions, and maybe have a thin blankets even, and maybe have a thin cushion available. So we're going to do a supported twist. So we're going to bring the right hip close to the bolsters or the props. We're going to see if we can find lots of length through the body, and then begin to twist to look over your props. Then allowing the belly and the chest to come down, and then see if the left shoulder can come down. So those legs out to the side, they doesn't really matter so much. It's about the torso. So just find a place where the legs can rest. If you find that the left cheek doesn't work, just obviously bring the right cheek down. And if an extra prop would then be useful, you can have that. So in many ways, I'm getting so used to these other props, these pillows and things. I'm beginning to prefer all of my pillows to my bolster, which is amazing. But it can be, it should be really supportive and nice. So let me know if you're not sure. So maybe, Emma, just make sure your head is okay if you need a pillow. As long as that, yeah, as long as it feels all right. Lovely. And whenever I get into these postures, I do like to kind of have my palms facing upwards, if that's available and comfortable, because it just allows a releasing in the shoulders and the arms, and reminds me not to try to pull and grasp and get anywhere in particular. So really feel that you can settle in here. Have that sense of nothing particular that needs to be done. We're going to be here for 3 minutes. Really settling yourself down and finding that focus so that you can begin to make those spaces. Spaces between thoughts. Spaces between emotions. And complete rest as well for the body, for the physical body, for the mind. Letting the props fully support you here. So coming back to that idea of between stimulus and response, there is space. So you might recognize that there are times, and you could even take this as an example of everything that we're going through at the moment, these challenging times. So these challenging times are always going to happen in our lives. You know, if we're alive and we're engaging in life, there's always going to be suffering. There's always going to be upset at some point. But it's not necessarily the challenges or the suffering that we need to worry about. It's our response to the suffering. So we could be very down and very negative about what's going on, or we could change it around and see how we could create good out of what's happening. So this would just be one example. So there might be other things that you can think of where you have habitual reactions to things, and these will often come from conditioning or past experiences. So it's not wrong. All we're doing is shining a light on it, becoming aware of it, and then realizing that we do have a choice. We have a choice of how we respond. We have a choice of the thoughts that come in. And remembering that our thoughts are very much a vehicle for our emotions. They drive our emotions. So whenever we feel that things, maybe emotions are not quite right, we could maybe check in with our thoughts, see what thoughts are there, and turn them around. You know, language is incredibly powerful. And it's actually been proven in science how powerful it is for the mind. This isn't wishy-washy, this isn't fluffy. This is real. So then in that space, take some deeper breaths. And then when you feel ready, begin to roll back up. And you can just kind of move the legs to the other side. And remembering with these asymmetrical poses, you might find that you need to do something slightly different. So do check in, make sure it's all, you're being aware, you're being present with what's happening. So that left hip really nice and close to your props, inhaling nice and long. And then as you exhale, you're twisting so that most of the belly, a bit more of the left side of the belly and the chest can come down onto your props. Maybe the right cheek. If right cheek doesn't work, obviously just left cheek. And then having that settling in again. Releasing the hands, releasing the weight of the head. Letting the body be fully held and fully supported by your props and by the earth here. Just taking the next couple of minutes just in quiet, and I'll be quiet, and just have that focus for the mind, whether it's at the tip of the nostrils, whether it could be the wave of breath in the belly and the chest, or it could be any other physical sensations in the body that you just really focus on. Let that be where your attention sits for the next couple of minutes, and just notice when the mind takes you away, because it will. Notice when, and gently bring it back. Take a moment to notice where your attention is. Remember, no judgment. And just take some deeper breaths. And then slowly come back up. So we're going to go into a supported child's pose, but if you feel like you just need any movement at that point, maybe from your tabletop, moving side to side, or maybe your cat pose, or maybe even down dog. So take any little movements that you feel you need there. And if you feel you don't need them, you can come straight to your supported child. So we're going to use all of those props that we were just using, but this time we'll have the knees wide, bolster props nice and close in so that we can get the belly and the chest down. And then you can release one cheek onto your props and let the hands again release. And let yourself settle into that child's pose when you're ready. And there will be some days when you find that there's just no calming the mind. And in some ways, these are the most interesting days. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. You can be on your mat thinking, this is just pointless. Why am I even here? I've got too much to do. But actually, if you can just become aware of what is there, it will reveal so much for you. It will reveal how you're feeling about things, what you're spending your time thinking about. So kind of persevere with this. That's kind of the message, I think. Like mindfulness is simple, but it's not easy. So having that perseverance to be able to just stay with whatever is, and have it, maybe even reminding yourself that you are not the thoughts. It doesn't make up the whole of you. So if you're finding mind is a bit more scattered than usual today, other techniques would be counting the breath in, as we've been doing, but this time you could count the breath at the end of the exhalation. So take your breath in, take your breath out, and then count 1 at the end of the exhale. Breathe in, breathe out, count 2. Continue in that way till you get to 10 or you lose the count. I find that one particularly useful when the mind is very busy. It just gives the focus. The count isn't important, but it gives a little bit of focus for the mind. You could bring the other cheek onto the props. If you haven't already, just releasing the other side of the neck. A couple more minutes here, just with that counting breath. If you're finding it useful, you're just exploring it. A couple of minutes here. Pay attention to where the mind is, with the count or completely elsewhere. And remembering that you're just building awareness, not trying to catch yourself out, just building awareness. Taking some deeper breaths. And then when you're ready, slowly releasing. And again, moving your props. You could come back to any movement that feels good. You might bring some circles into the pelvis. Side stretches, child's pose, down dog. And then we're going to release onto our backs. So bending the knees. Drawing the right knee into the chest, and just interlace the fingers for a moment around the kneecap or slightly onto the shin, and just giving that a squeeze. Drawing it in towards the chest, or maybe even slightly out to the side and in towards the side chest. Draw the shoulders down towards the mat so that the back of the body is long. Full of breath there. See if you can lengthen the tailbone by drawing the belly in. And then bringing that right ankle across the left knee, allowing the right knee to draw away as long as that's okay for the right knee. You can stay there, or you can draw the left knee into the chest and interlace the fingers around the left thigh. So if you prefer pigeon, then you're familiar with that, then you're absolutely welcome to go into pigeon. I know for some people this doesn't give them a huge amount of stretch. And if you feel like you need more today, then absolutely take that if you're familiar. But really, go a bit gentler if you can, if you feel that you need to today. So what we're kind of looking for here, if you like, is an opening into the hip and the glute on that right side. But as best you can, you're keeping the back of the body, if you're on your back, centered and down into the mat. And maybe sometimes not always feeling that you have to go to your absolute deepest stretch. Because sometimes when we ease off, we back away, we can be more present and we're not so kind of involved in the stretch, where we can be more involved in practicing the mindfulness techniques. Okay. So a couple of minutes here, easing off. And a reading from Eckhart Tolle's book, Practicing the Power of Now. So he says, observe the many ways in which unease, discontent, and tension arise within you through unnecessary judgment, resistance to what is, and denial of the now. Anything unconscious dissolves when you shine the light of consciousness on it. So anything unconscious dissolves when you shine the light of consciousness on it. So just simply becoming aware of your tension and your worries and anything else can allow them to dissolve, because you're coming back into the present where those worries and tensions cannot exist. Because generally our worries are about the future or about the past. And when we're in the here and now, There cannot be worries. So you might start to feel and see that for yourself the more you become aware of your thoughts and your inner world. So take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, releasing that left leg. If it is raised, if you're in your pigeon, begin to come back out. You can draw that right knee into the chest. Just give it one more little squeeze there as you inhale. And then exhale, bring the foot down onto the mat. Inhale to bring the left leg into the chest. Give that a squeeze, drawing it in. Notice what might happen with the shoulders, the back of the body. See if you can soften back down. You might even find you need to draw the chin towards the chest, just slightly. A couple of squeezes there, a little pinch into the left hip, perhaps, just going as far as you want to on that side. And then bringing the left ankle across the right knee, either staying there. Make sure the left knee is happy. And then draw the right knee in and interlace around the right thigh if you want to go further. You might find just simply bringing the left ankle across the right knee is quite an opening into that left hip and glute. So if that's enough, stay there. Or draw the knee in and find a little bit more. But again, just notice shoulders. You're not straining into the neck or the shoulders. And then a couple of minutes here, letting the body naturally open and release. No forcing, not really too much effort. Having that sense of just allowing everything to be as it is, even this pose, even this stretch. Take a moment, notice where your attention is. And then take an inhale and exhale. Release the left leg, draw the knee into the chest. One little squeeze. And then exhale, release the leg. Then draw both knees into the chest. They might come slightly out to the side. The thighs might reach in so they almost touch the sides of the body, the belly, the chest. Nice deep breath. And then as you exhale, release the feet. Bring the feet a little bit wider than the hips. And we're just going to sway the knees side to side. So inhale. As you exhale, drop the knees over to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale to right. Take your time with that, just easing one side to the other. And if you feel like you just want to pause on one side for a couple of breaths, and then do that. Do kind of any last little movements that you feel that the body might need. If you need anything else, then take that. You could come into happy baby. That could sometimes be a really nice place to finish. But listen into the body. What does the body need? And maybe if it needs more stillness, just go straight into your Shavasana. When you're ready to release into your Shavasana, go there. If you want to have the legs long, you could maybe bring pillows underneath the knees if you don't have a bolster. So that can be nice to release the lower back. If that doesn't work for you and you still feel like the lower back isn't happy, remove the props and just have the knees bent. Soles of the feet on the mat. The feet a little bit wider than the hips so that the knees can touch, so that you're not holding the legs. Draw the shoulders down away from the head, chin towards the chest. Hands are maybe on the belly and the heart, or maybe away from the body. So you could take a deep breath in as you begin to settle. And then exhaling, releasing into your body, into this space. So letting yourself settle there, whatever pose you've chosen. Feeling the effects of your physical practice, maybe as a tingling or a warmth within the body. Maybe you could get a sense of the free flow of energy if there is. Maybe even any blockages that still might be there, just getting more and more aware of what's happening in the body. And even here, let your attention settle onto something, whether it's the breath, maybe the ebb and flow of the breath across the belly and the chest. Maybe it's a physical sensation in the body, maybe at the palms of the hands, that can be quite strong. Just something that allows you to stay here, stay present. And I'll read that quote one more time by Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Take a moment one more time. Notice where your attention is. And then take some deeper breaths. Bringing movement into fingers and toes. Maybe having a stretch. Moving the head side to side. Drawing the knees into the chest. Maybe rocking side to side if that feels okay for the back of the body. And then rolling to one side, just pausing on your side for a moment and just being there in that soft fetal position, cozy, warm, safe. And then gently come back up to sit, and you might even keep the eyes closed or gaze soft so the awareness just stays within a little bit longer. And then you can bring the hands into prayer at the heart center. Just bowing down towards hands and towards heart, towards your practice. And whatever you have created here, whatever you feel has shifted or changed for you in the past 60 minutes, maybe just a calmness or a clarity or anything else. And we'll finish with one Om. So take a deep breath in. So thank you for your practice. Namaste.